Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Tuesday. I have to keep reminding myself it's Tuesday and not Monday. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it. Make sure you smash that like button for us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us on all of our our podcast apps, all that good stuff. Did I do the DraftKings read? Boy, am I rusty. We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. I might have done that already.
There you go.
I don't even know. Anyway,
I don't know why you're rusty. We totally got together yesterday and recorded a brand new episode.
I don't know.
It's not like we had a day off.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, there's many things wrong with me, but I don't know what's currently wrong with me. Anyway, how are you fellas doing?
Good. Did you guys have a good weekend?
Brilliant.
Yes, enjoyable. And then it was ruined by a piece of crap hockey game last night.
Yeah. Do we want to start there or do we want to save that? We could probably start there, right? Just get to it.
I mean, the Stanley Cup Final is kind of a big deal in the world of hockey.
Kind of important.
Yeah. Look, good teams have lost games before, game sixes before, but how in the world do you get that far in the playoffs and get your ass kicked that badly at home in a must-win game to survive? That's
Twice in the same series.
Yeah. That's tough.
I blame Jamie Benn. They were undefeated with him not in the lineup.
Sure.
0-4 with him. It's all Jamie Benn's fault.
Yeah.
Trade him to Toronto.
You can definitely point to that and not be wrong. Yeah, I mean, you would have hoped that, if they were going to make a series out of it, that you'd at least get some excitement, maybe get to a game 7. But man, that was quite the stinker that Dallas put up there.
Yeah, they should be ashamed of the way they came out. They were just dominated from the opening puck drop. They lost every board battle. They had no answer for the forecheck, and they got shut out twice in a conference final by Adin Hill. Adin Hill. No, half of the hockey world had no idea he existed until 3 weeks ago. You got shut out on home ice twice against him.
Yeah, and you don't want to take anything away from him either, right?
No, but come on.
The best goalies, and again, the reason a lot of us chose Dallas to win was because of the goalie matchup. And Oettinger was bad. It wasn't it wasn't like Adin Hill was great. He was good. Don't get me wrong, but my God, Oettinger was part of the reason Dallas lost. And I think if you're going to predict how that series might go, that was not one of the realities I saw coming. Even though he had not been wonderful leading up to it, I didn't think he was going to potentially cost them the series. And he was bad. I don't know. I don't want to go as far as to say it's a Winnipeg sort of thing where you look at the thing and go, what can you do? Because they got to the Stanley or the conference final and they got to game 6 and the games were close early in the series, but to lay 2 eggs, massive eggs like they did, both at home, that's weird. I don't know. That's really hard to do, I think. I don't know. It's hard to look past that for me and just say, oh, yeah, we'll go get him next year. I feel like there's something needs to change, and maybe it is Jamie Benn. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be able to turn something in, right? Something in that's on the backs of your stars. And Jason Robertson took some time to warm up, but then he started to show up late in the postseason. Miro Heiskanen had a really good postseason stretch, and Oettinger, yeah, I mean, you could talk about how they kind of relied on him a lot throughout the regular season, and maybe now as the NHL seems like it's going more towards tandem goaltending duos. Maybe that's something that Dallas needs to think about and not rely solely on Jake Oettinger being their only option in net. I mean, only a handful of goaltenders can do that in the NHL. It's not like it used to be. So yeah, I mean, unless they feel like he can be one of those elite level goaltenders, they may need to look into hey, maybe we need a 1B. So I mean, the Dallas is still set up with some of their young players to be pretty competitive, for the next couple of years. But it's those older guys like Sagan and Ben, and I know Pavelski showed up, but even he's on a short timetable. Like there might be some decisions that need to be made in Dallas to make sure that they don't go the way of the Penguins or anything like that.
Yeah, no, they got a young core there. Like they've done a real nice job of transitioning from the Sagan Ben era into this new core while staying competitive for the most part. That's really hard to do. But you have Jason Robinson, you have Miro Heiskanen, Yanni Hakanpää had a great series, man. He was just dumping people all over the ice. And then Roope Hintz became an absolute star this postseason. So it's kind of like, okay, old guys, move out of the way. We've got a new core, but I don't really know what you can do. I don't think anybody's after last few games. I don't think anybody's lining up to give you a whole bunch for Jamie Benn and the rest of his contract. Even though he was fabulous in the regular season, 33 goals at age 33. Tyler Sagan is not the player he was. He's definitely slowed down. He's not the threat he once was, and he's still got a hefty contract to go. So, it could be just a series where I think we saw in games 4 and 5, Vegas lost their focus. And that's why that series didn't end sooner. They took their foot off the gas. And then Bruce Cassidy said, not anymore. It's time to play our hockey. And that's what they did from the opening draw in game 6. It was over. If Vegas doesn't take their foot off the gas and lose focus, that's over in game 4.
Right.
So Jamie Benn has 2 years left at 9.5. Next year in 2024-25. Tyler Sagan, 4 years left at 4.85 or 9.85. That's
I'm not taking that.
You can maybe convince somebody to take it on. That Sagan one, they're going to be stuck with that you're just going to have to live with that. Or you find your Arizona Coyotes who need to get to the cap floor and send them there. But for me, like, I know we've been talking about that sort of stuff with the Hawks, like bringing a vet who can score, playing with Bedard. Not at 4 years. Nope. Sorry.
No.
2 years.
Why they were,
no way.
But they were really smart. Jim Nill gets nominated for the Executive of the Year award every year for a reason, because he was able to get Jason Robinson and Roope Hintz locked up to longer term, really good deals. That's like, so that Sagan and Ben deal, they don't really affect his young core right now. And that's very good GMing that hopefully Kyle Davidson is paying attention to over the next few years.
Yeah, so Hintz makes 8.45 until 2030-31. Good Lord. And Jason Robertson has 3 years left at 7.75. So both those guys making less than Ben and Sagan. Like that is good GM. It really is. And some of the more expensive vets he has on a blue line, like Ryan Suter's 38, but he's only $3.6 million for 2 more years. And Heiskanen is 23 and signed through 2028-29 at 8.45. So the big contracts he has are not like restrictive to bringing in other players to help. And you've got what you believe is your core, because I think Robertson is, I don't know if I'll go top 10 just yet, but he's knocking on the door right there.
Yeah, he's a star player in the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's they are in good position to at least stay competitive. Whether or not this was their best chance at a cup remains to be seen. But I think they're going to be back in the playoffs next year. It'd be surprising if they weren't.
Well, and as as shaky as Ottinger looked in this postseason, he's still only 24, 23, 24. So like he's only, you would think, only going to progress and get better and be more stable, you'd hope, in Dallas's case. So if you have an upper tier, potentially elite level goaltender, like that can do a lot for you to stay competitive. So it's not like he's 34 and this was the last run of his career. Like he's just starting it. So I mean, was it a really shaky postseason at times? Yeah, but he definitely can still come in and keep them competitive and be a part of keeping that window open for a few years.
Yeah, maybe Dallas has opened up as a potential landing spot for a guy like Alex Stalock, who can go there next year and start 35 games, so Jake Ottinger doesn't run out of gas in the conference finals. Like, it looked like he did. You know, I think they rode him too much. Yeah, he's only 24, but he's never had that kind of workload in his career. You know, he's either been in the AHL splitting time or in the NHL, not the everyday starter. And as you mentioned earlier, Mario, like the days of us tender starting 70 games a year are gone. That's just not happening anymore. So maybe they go out and get another proven veteran, an Alex Stalock type, who will go and can start 30 to 35 games, so Ottinger can get some rest in February and March, so he's fresh in April and May.
I wonder if the other Matt Murray, who we saw with the Texas Stars, he's an RFA this summer. I don't know if he probably doesn't project as a full-time NHLer, does he? I don't know, maybe a
I mean, he made his NHL debut this season, and isn't he like 30? Like, wasn't that? Oh, okay. I thought the story was that he was an older guy. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe that's
25 old. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, for a goaltender, it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's a guy that they're looking at as maybe he turns into a 1B, and they were only using Scott Wedgwood as kind of like, we just need a stopgap veteran for that time. So that could be in play for Dallas as well.
It's a great name for a backup goalie, Scott Wedgwood. Just wedge him in there between starts that matter. You know, I don't think that anyone should draw any conclusions that Jake Ottinger is no longer an elite goalie. I think the thought of running out of gas makes a ton of sense because he played a ton because Dallas was in a race for a lot of the year trying to get the placement in the standings and everything. So they're going to lean on him more than ever. I still think he is going to be one of the best goalies in the game. He still might be. You know, it's a tough look, but when you kind of peel the layers of the onion or whatever you want to say, he does have a bit of an excuse of being pretty overworked, especially in comparison to other goalies around the league.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that even though Vegas is on their way to the Stanley Cup Final, Dallas has better long-term health based on what their roster has over Vegas. Vegas is like, this is maybe their last shot with this group to get it done. And where Dallas, as we mentioned, has a lot of has their new young core. So you could say, I'd rather be the Dallas Stars in 3 years than Vegas right now. You know, they might have the brighter future, even though the Golden Knights are heading to the Stanley Cup Final. And my condolences to all of the media members who have to spend the next couple of weeks traveling between South Florida and Las Vegas. I mean, this job sometimes just it really gets to you. So my heart goes out to all those reporters.
Yeah, really gonna suck. Yeah,
it's brutal. By the way, speaking of that, we are going to be in Nashville for the draft, and we should have some news as to where you can hang out with us coming this week. I joined the StreamYard late, so I didn't get to update the guys yet, but it's good news. So we have some news to share probably Thursday coming up. Speaking of Thursday at 2:00, we're going to talk to Liam McHugh of TNT. He's going to preview the Stanley Cup Final if he remembers how time zones work. I'll make sure I remind him. I'm going to send him every time zone from around the world. Reminders.
Isn't that an Insane Clown Posse song? Time zones. How do they work?
Yes, I do. So that'll be fun. But look forward to that. Look forward to going to Nashville for the draft. But it's funny. We spent most of the show so far talking about Dallas and their failings, and I've been guilty of just sort of bypassing Vegas all the time and not really giving them the credit they need. They've earned it, man. Like they're a good team, and the business-like nature of last night's game. That third period broadcast was like a talk show. They we're not even calling the game because what's the point?
Yeah.
Is Vegas playing out the clock? Like, we're not going to give up any chances. We're just going to win this and go home and call it a day and get ready for the Cup Final. The commentators were just talking to each other during the game. Ferraro's like, yeah, and the Cup Final should be exciting, talking about everything going. Like, there was action happening. They weren't even acknowledging it because the game was so far over. And for Vegas to go into Dallas and look, you start to get itchy. You're up 3-0. All of a sudden it's 3-2.
Yep.
Nope. They just came out and were like, we are not losing this game. We're going to beat you and beat you quick. And your season's over. Thanks for coming out, Dallas.
Yeah, all the pressure got flipped over on Vegas after losing Game 5 at home ice. But you wouldn't have known that by the way they played. a little sad. It's got to be so satisfying for Bruce Cassidy, former Blackhawk Bruce Cassidy, good friend of current Blackhawks head coach Luke Richardson. He gets fired from Boston because, I guess
you got to change
doing a good enough job. Yeah. Then he has to watch Boston set the all-time regular season record for wins, and they get booted in the first round, and he gets to the Stanley Cup Final and gets to play the team that booted his ex-team out of the first round. And a funny stat came across my Twitter feed last night. It's the first time in history, first time ever that the team in both the NHL and NBA lost a Game 7 in their home arena to an 8th seed in the same season. It both happened to Boston teams and both to Miami area teams, with the Celtics losing Game 7 in Boston to the Heat last night and Boston losing Game 7 at home to the Panthers in the first round. You really hate to see that, don't you? I mean, Boston fans crying in their Sam Adams just breaks my heart.
It's tough for Boston.
Yeah. Bleacher Report had too. The Heat and Panthers had as many wins at TD Garden in this year's NBA and NHL playoffs as the Celtics and Bruins.
Yeah, that's
some may call that team fraudulent.
I've heard that.
I've heard somebody say that. Yes,
I've heard rumors that they may not have been as good as we all thought they were.
I saw
screamed that at me one night.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat mentioned, is Bobrovsky due for it's from Matty Boy XD. Any chance Bobrovsky comes out flat in the finals? I think that's a concern for the entire Panthers team. It's gonna be 9 days off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had 8 days off going into the Carolina series, and that didn't affect him one bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, I'm sure people need to realize they're not just home. They're skating, they're practicing, they're doing those things, but it's not the same as a game. And I also think, I wonder if it's different too with the Cup Final. You've got all this time to think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it, and then I think there's a benefit to just playing. But look, we'll talk about this, and then Game 1, Florida will win 5-0, and it will all be for naught. But I heard a stat yesterday in the post game was like 8 of 10 teams with the lesser layoff have won the most Stanley Cups recently, or something like that. Is some significant number of the teams with less rest have won. So,
well, I've listened a lot on the 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick, my second favorite hockey podcast after this one. They've talked a lot in the Elliot Friedman's talked a lot in this postseason about Sergei Bobrovsky needs extra rest because he's like this world record setting sweater where he actually loses 10 pounds a game and needs an extra day just to recuperate. So for some goalies, you might say this is a bad thing. This might be exactly what he needs. Go back and listen to some of those episodes from the playoffs where Friedman gets into it. Just how I don't know, something about him. He just gets he sweats so much during a game that he needs a full day just to recover from a game. So 8 or 9 days off for him could be a good thing.
I wish I could lose 10 pounds of sweat in just one game.
I could gain 10 pounds watching a hockey game, but I can't lose them.
Yeah, I mean, that's, that could play a factor in him just kind of feeling rested. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about staying in the routine of okay, game, practice, morning skate, practice, travel, game, just kind of keeping in that routine and not having a long layoff. And maybe they were able to kind of avoid the rust in the series against Carolina. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Jay, now it's the final. Now it's all the hype. There's going to be the media day. It's you're the center of the hockey universe for the next 2 weeks. There's a lot of pressure on that. So, I mean, I'd have to look up and down the lineup, but I don't think there's many guys on either side that have been here before too often, if not just maybe once. So it's going to be a new experience for a lot of these guys. So yeah, I mean, you're kind of breaking with that routine that you get used to in the playoffs when every game, every game day, every travel day, it's all kind of similar. So it'll be interesting to see how Florida comes out. I think someone in our chat had the stat: the team with the most rest is 1-9 in the last. There it is from Ryan. Team with the most rest is 1-9. Like, I mean, not every stat rings true, but that's a hard one to look away from.
Are we doing predictions yet, or no? Should we wait?
Why not?
I say,
what's going to change? What's going to change? Is someone going to get hurt in practice? Hopefully not. Knock on wood for those teams.
I mean, we could give a prediction and then recap a prediction on Friday because we got to wait all the way to Saturday. I mean, it's hard to pick against the Panthers at this point, even though I picked against them in the last round. But I mean, with Zawaski playing the way he is, with Matthew Tkachuk playing the way he is, I don't know if Vegas has an answer for him. Nobody has yet. Both teams play very similar. They're ruthless on the forechecking. Should be a very aggressive, fun series. It doesn't matter apparently who plays goal for Vegas. They're not facing a ton of shots. That helps. I think did Dallas have 12 shots in the?
Did we just lose Greg? I think we lost Greg for a second. I just heard something vibrating and then Greg went away. So hopefully Greg's okay. It is tough to pick against the Panthers right now because they've just been so strong. They've been so strong. Everything all right?
Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, halfway through every show, I go away for 2 seconds and I come right back.
There was I heard and then you went away.
I don't know. You guys went black and were spinning, and then I was back. But anywho, yeah. As I was saying before everything went to crap, it doesn't seem it matters who plays goalie for Vegas. They're not facing a ton of shots. That makes your life easy. So it's hard to pick against the Panthers, but I keep underestimating Vegas and they keep proving me wrong. But I think the Panthers just have that edge. I think it's their year. I'll pick them in 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked against the Panthers in the first 2 rounds and felt foolish, so I picked them in the 3rd round, and now I feel vindicated. There's some teams where you watch a postseason. I mean, some of those Blackhawks teams in 10 and 13 and 15. I mean, you just knew, even from an outsider perspective, you kind of just knew, hey, this team's got something special going. And I feel like I feel that way about the Panthers right now, especially going through the Eastern Conference Final the way they did, the way Matthew Tkachuk has been playing, kind of bringing character to that team, kind of being the face of that team in this run that they're on, and the way that Sergei Bobrovsky's been playing, like it's hard to pick against some guys that are just on absolute heaters right now, and you need a star player to help put the team on your back in the postseason, and you need a goaltender to be playing some of his best hockey. And the Panthers have both of those things. Not to say that the Golden Knights don't. I mean, they've got a couple of guys that are firing right now. Adin Hill obviously is coming out of the depths of their goaltending chart, and doing his thing between the pipes to get them to this place. You got Jonathan March's show. You got William Karlsson, like these 2 staples of Vegas over the last couple of years. They're stepping up. And then you have Jack Eichel, who has yet to lose a round in his postseason NHL career, playing absolutely, at the top of his game. It's going to be a great series. I'm going to say Florida. And I'm going to say Florida lifts the cup on home ice with the Rats all over the ice there in Florida in 6 games.
As we're talking about it, I'm going back and forth on my pick, and I'm trying to, I feel like I have not given Vegas enough credit, and just the way they dispatched Dallas was so impressive. But I look at the goaltending matchup. And even if Bobrovsky steps back to life a little bit, I'm still feeling better about him than Adin Hill. Like, look, if let's say the Hawks had 1 game to win and we had the pick of Adin Hill or Sergei Bobrovsky, who are you taking? Right? Like, we're all taking Bobrovsky. The Matthew Tkachuk factor is huge, and Vegas has their share of guys who are playing great as well. I don't say this with any confidence, But because of the way Zawaski is playing and the way Tkachuk is playing, and Mario, you sort of mentioned it, like there's years where teams just have a feel about them. There's just something about them. There's something about the story. There's something about, there's snapshots of moments leading up to. We talk about Nashville Game 5. We talk about Seabrook eliminating the Red Wings and him going in the penalty box to remove Taves' head from his butt, and like all the things that happen along the way that make you feel like this is our team. This is a team of destiny. I get that feeling with the Panthers, so I'm taking the Panthers in 7 and multiple overtimes.
Sure. Let's say extend as much hockey as possible. Extend it into June as much as possible. It'll make that break between the end of the Cup final and going to Nashville even shorter.
Yep, I'm for it. When you don't have a horse in the race, when you're not a fan of either team per se, and you're just enjoying it, overtime hockey, give it all to me. Every game, do it. Meanwhile, the Golden Knight fans and the Panther fans can lose a few years off their life and have their blood pressure shoot through the roof. But give me all the overtimes. I'm good for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, as long as we're not suffering through it.
Right.
It's like, my God, it's torture when the Hawks were in them. You just want to throw it. You lose 10 pounds a game like Sergei Bobrovsky of vomit.
Yeah. The more overtimes you have, the more wonderful, delicious Goose Island beer you can drink.
That is true. That is true. And for those nervy nights and those nervy overtimes, nothing helps keep you relaxed and ready for whatever than Goose Island and their tremendous roster of beers. Goose Island, they are flying over our heads, and they are the proud beer sponsor of us here at CHGO, and they have been Chicago's beer since 1988. You check out some of their beers on their talented beer roster, like the Goose IPA, 6-time medal winner at the Great American Beer Fest, always in style with a citrus aroma and bold hop finish. You got the Tropical Beer Hug, the dry hopped Imperial IPA, which is a 9.9 ABV that is dangerously easy to drink. You got the Full Pocket Pills, and everyday beer. It's what the Goose Island beer brewers are drinking. And of course, on these golden sunny days, you can crack yourself open a can of the Golden 312, the wheat ale, the staple of the Goose Island beer roster. And if you're in the Chicago area, grab an ultra fresh brewery exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Ave in Lincoln Park, or you can go to their tap room on Fulton Street. That's in Westtown. Again, that is the Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
And as I've been looking at my weather app on my phone, we're finally getting a stretch we've been waiting a long time for. Warm temps, sun's going to be out a ton, and
sun's out, guns out.
Absolutely. And you can take on the sun with gear built to last from our friends at Shady Rays, who have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers you a world-class product that's just as good, I say even better, than any expensive pair I've ever worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for all your outdoor summertime adventures. It's finally here. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. When you wear Shady Rays, you can wear your Shady Rays with confidence, because they have your back long after you purchase. And you're going to look amazing and you're going to feel amazing, because together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much needed support to nonprofit partners across the United States through the Shady Rays Impact Initiative. They're doing everything from building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, but you're going to, so you don't really need to worry about it, but just in case, they will exchange for a new pair, or you can return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk. When you shop, their team always has your back. And yes, Memorial Day was yesterday, but the Memorial Day sale is still going on, and it goes on through the end of the month. That's tomorrow. So for today and tomorrow, head over to shadyrays.com and you'll get 35% off all sunglasses. So you can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And you can add to that count because you will be happy. I guarantee it.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
They are great shades. Don't hesitate. Now is the time. Pick them up. ShadyRays.com. All right. So some news broke about the Hawks later in the week last week. They are planning a massive $65 million expansion of the Fifth Third Arena. That's the vacant land on 303 South Damon. It is right next door to the arena. If you've been there before, there's Fifth Third Arena, and then there's a big lot of concrete. Well, that concrete now belongs to the Blackhawks. It's 135,000 square foot expansion. It still needs city council approval, but it is expected to create a ton of jobs. It's going to add 2 more rinks, so that'll be a total of 4 at Fifth Third, and 180 much needed parking spaces. There'll also be a divvy station and a park for the neighbors of the area. So that's good news for the Hawks, of course. I'm reading here from Block Club Chicago, and they reached out to some of the neighbors and said they're happy about the development, but they want more visibility from the Blackhawks. One parent said they'd like the team to be more active in the Black community and help youth teams with the cost of hockey equipment. Quote, our kids aren't exactly riding on the ice, and the cost of accessing the sport is way out of our budget, one woman said. I would like to see if there's a real plan for that. I hope so. Because, look, 4 rinks is going to make that place way more available than it has been with just a 2. And look, if you go in there and we can see the schedule of what's happening there, but a lot of teams play there. A lot of teams practice there. There is limited community time, but hopefully there's just one of these rinks as a community rink that can be used for open skate or learn to play or whatever. But yeah, it would be nice to see the Hawks get involved and make the game more accessible for kids around the city, especially in that West Loop neighborhood where they take up residence. West Side, I guess, more appropriately than West Loop. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been to the Fifth Third, in the last few years, like that facility is tremendous. It's definitely a huge upgrade from where they were previously at Johnny's. And they've really gotten a lot of good use out of it over the years. They've hosted a lot of, they hosted NHL Media Day there a couple of years ago before the season started. They host, youth tournaments, USA Hockey youth tournaments. Chicago Mission plays there. There's a ton of use out of that facility, and it's just the 2 rinks. So now expanding to 4 rinks would be tremendous. You can get more people, more hockey. And yeah, I agree. More accessibility, for the community in which, you're located, I think is something that's really important. The Blackhawks have done a lot to try and, build community relations in the last couple of years with, the indigenous community. And I think reaching out more towards, the community that they're in on the west side of town would be great. I mean, that you want to be able to be representative of everybody in hockey. It doesn't need to be, we talk about hockey culture and how, exclusatory it can be because of the accessibility to the sport and, financially and in the communities that, usually you see hockey. I think the Blackhawks have an opportunity and kind of an obligation to really, reach out and be a little bit more active in that community, be a little bit more visible in that community, and not just doing it for, here we're going to, a photo op or anything. Like more tangible, deep rooted and long standing relationship building that I think can grow, the hockey community in Chicago. There's already, we talk a lot about, guys that play in the NHL and women that play professionally that are from Chicago. But a lot of them are Chicagoland, and I think, the Blackhawks and Fifth Third and this community rink expansion can do a lot to potentially, build up those like actual city of Chicago hockey products. And I think that would be a tremendous thing that the Blackhawks could be a part of.
Well, I mean, and Corey brings up a good point in the chat is part of this park they're talking about. maybe you build an outdoor, like floor hockey rink, street hockey rink, just with, because we have one here in Homewood, like in Millennium Park. There's like an NHL goalie net, like cemented into the ground. And it's like the size of a tennis court, and kids can come in there and shoot the puck on the net. And it's there all the time. Like, build a little outdoor roller hockey / street hockey, floor hockey rink, so kids can walk up and start playing. I think even that can make a big difference. And you find 5 or 6 kids that love doing that. And then, hey, I want to learn how to skate. Okay. Then you're starting to make progress. I think, part of the reason that basketball and baseball are so popular in the United States is because you can pick up and play it. You can go find a park and play basketball pretty much anywhere, pick up a bat and ball and a mitt and go play baseball anywhere. That's the challenge that hockey has, is it's not accessible really to anybody. When you've got money, and it makes it easier. But in terms of like, hey, let's go have a pickup hockey game, that takes a lot of work. So having some park, having some facilities where kids can go play hockey, why the hell not? Just build a nice outdoor rink right there next to the stadium, or right there next to Fifth Third, and give kids the opportunity to check it out. And you can even do, like, we have sled hills in town, and you just leave, sleds in this little box. It's like a rent-a-sled, and kids can come grab a sled, play, leave those crappy like plastic sticks you have at gym class. They have to step on and bend the blade, and put a bucket of balls out there, and let kids pick up and play when they can.
Or you take a couple of $20 sticks from Gunzo's and just stick them out there. Like, you don't have to give them the melted plastic. Put out some real things, and that way it's a little bit more of the real feel, the real game, and people can get attached to it that way.
Yeah, it's part of the reason so many kids play soccer these days, because it's so easy to get your friends. All you need is a ball and a couple of water bottles to put down as the goal, and you play soccer. You don't need $8,000 worth of equipment and ice time and all that stuff. So yeah, it'd be fun. Hopefully they do something like that, and maybe have some free community ice time. They're gonna have twice as many rinks, which now you have twice as much availability, and hopefully not all of that is just given away to the people who are paying for it. You got plenty of revenue coming in. You can give away some ice time there for people who otherwise can't afford it. But as somebody who spent a couple of years coaching or scouting for the junior leagues, anytime I saw a showcase on my schedule at Fifth Third, I was like, oh, thank God, because it's such a great world-class facility, and the fact they're going to expand it and make it even bigger, it's great news. One thing that I would love to see is now that you got 4 rinks, or you will have 4 rinks, maybe then the Blackhawks can get get a group together and start pushing to get one of those professional women's teams here in Chicago, and they could play at one of the rinks there. You build one that has a little more, maybe with seating on both sides of the rink instead of just one, where you could fit 1,000, 1,500 people in to watch a professional women's game. I think that's a huge opportunity to make that happen. So that'd be good. And, more access to hockey is never a bad thing. And based on how well they did with the with Fifth Third Arena, I'm sure the expansion is going to be amazing. All I ask is, can you possibly squeeze in a podcast studio somewhere in the building, just in case? Just saying.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, just a little soundproof room.
Yeah, we'll bring our own gear and our own decals and stuff. But yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be nice.
I think the big question is, with this expansion, does Dunkin' Donuts return to the Fifth Third Arena?
They effing better.
Or you can and Tim Hortons and make everybody feel at home.
Hey, there you go.
Any kind of coffee. They need coffee and donuts back in there. I know that's first world problems, but man, it was so convenient to just walk downstairs and get a cup of coffee and a French cruller to get you through a morning skate.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people talking about the rumored women's hockey team, and I know the Chicago North Stars play. I don't know, is that like semi-pro? I don't think they could. I don't know how that works, but like, it's just such a no-brainer. Why would you not add Chicago to the PHF? It just makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah,
there's interest there. There'd be coverage. There'd have to have a new CHGO show, which would be great.
Hey,
I know a few people who would jump on board for that.
Absolutely. We could staff that show in 20 minutes.
By the time we're off the air, I could have it done.
That would be great. That would be great. So yeah, I mean, look, the more hockey, the better. The more opportunity, the better. And this is one of these things we're talking about where the Hawks can talk about their commitment to community and their commitment to growing the game. Here's a chance to either make twice as much money with your twice as many rinks, or to use a rink and use some time to really help develop the game and grow the game in your community. Yeah, and I hope they do the right thing. I really do.
There's a lot of revenue coming with that kid that they're going to be drafting here in 29 days. So you don't need to get greedy here with your practice rink. Do the right thing.
Well, I think that the expansion of the rink too can, I think you saw what the cup runs did for growing a fan base. I mean, they have a lot of those fans still, growing and committed to the team. They're going to get another fan base, another, generation of fans coming through, likely in part because of Connor Bedard and some of these young players that are coming up, over the next few years. They get a young, competitive, fun team. You can do a lot with a team like that in growing a fan base. So you can pair, what you're doing at the United Center, having these young kids come in, having a guy like Connor Bedard come in and lead the team and get back to contention to where, Chicago hockey is buzzing again. You pair that with the expansion of the rink and the expansion and visibility in the hockey community in Chicago. Like there's a huge opportunity to continue to grow the fan base and make it one of the most fun fan bases in the city once again, like it was, just a couple of years ago.
Yep. I can't wait for this to be done, just for the parking.
That'll help too.
Yeah. Make some of those days a little better.
Well, next year's going to be interesting parking wise.
Yeah. I was just going to say, once they get it approved and once they start working on it, what's that going to mean for the current Fifth Third Arena? Because, next year's training camp, prospect camp, that could be also hectic. So
they should start west and build east.
Yeah.
Right. Just work west to east, so you get through everything the Hawks need to do for camp.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That one's free, Blackhawks. It's not till next year they start it though. So
yeah. Here's a good idea from our chat. The getting a donut place in the Fifth Third. Why not make Stan Mikita's Donuts a real thing? Right?
Of course. Then it's a destination too, right? Sell merch. You can. It's the name of the charity is failing me, but it's the organization that Stan represented for the deaf. You can donate some of the money there.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a no-brainer. Like that is such an easy thing to do. Unless Stan's Donuts was like, we're copyrighting all Stan Donuts.
Yeah.
No last names can be thrown on there.
That's fine. Then just bring Stan's Donuts in there. I would have no problem with that either.
Absolutely fine. Sure. That would be. They got the best freaking coffee. Oh my god, I love their Stan's coffee is perfect.
I would also not be opposed to a Do Right location.
Sure.
That would be fine.
Any donuts.
A different donut shop per rink.
There you go. Yeah.
And then you just name it, like the Dunkin' rink, the Stan's rink.
Yeah.
I saw that one. The Heel should not be named rink. Just move along. Do Right rink. The ideas are just flying at us.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey,
great.
And these are free
for now. For now. Hey, though, with 4 new rinks, those energy bills are going to be high, fellas. What should the Hawks do about that?
Well, if they're looking to save money and energy, also known as Monergy, they need to look into the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, because that is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Yes, sir. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy saving opportunities like for HVAC systems, commercial equipment, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Greg, can you tell the people at the Blackhawks how those facility assessments work?
Yes. Dear Blackhawks, an authorized engineer will work with you personally to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers like the Blackhawks will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business or a hockey team, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, you can head on over as soon as this show is over, please, to comed.com/poweringbiz.
That, again, is comed.com/poweringbiz. Is that spelled B-I-Z?
It sure is. B-I-Z. Schedule it right now as soon as this show is over.
And speaking of right now, as soon as the show's over, if you want to save on watching television, and who doesn't, because it's getting expensive as hell, go to FuboTV.com/CHGO. Fubo TV is where I go for my live television, and I am not looking back because I love it. 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. You can stream live TV from any device. That's clutch. Watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price, and you can start watching immediately with a 7-day free trial at FuboTV.com/CHGO. There's no contract. There's no cable. There's no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. You'll get 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge, and you can watch your locals while traveling. You've got the WNBA underway, the NBA Finals on ABC. You've got the NHL Draft on ESPN, the Cubs on Marquee Sports Network. Yep, Marquee Sports Network is on Fubo TV. You got the Sox and Bulls and soon-to-be Blackhawks on NBC Sports Chicago. F1, UFC, everything you want to watch is on Fubo TV. Watch the Cubs on Marquee and the Sox on NBC Sports Chicago with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. That is FuboTV.com/CHGO. That's FuboTV.com/CHGO. And if you noticed, in our two last reads, we both said immediately. We've got Eddie O on the brain, and for good reason.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of the Athletics Hockey Podcast today with Craig Constant. I can't say his name.
Custance.
Custance. I get myself in trouble with that one. Like, I always want to insert a certain extra letter that's illegal.
It's like custard.
Yeah. So our buddy Craig at the Athletics and Sean Gentile, they talked about the Penguins situation, and they were pretty much certain that there was going to be an announcement today. And so far, I haven't seen anything, but we're led to believe that it's our buddy Eddie Olczyk will be the next president of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they are led to believe that Kyle Dubas may have already been given an offer to be the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that's very interesting on a lot of levels, because first of all, it was just a couple weeks ago, Kyle Dubas said it's either the Maple Leafs or nobody. Boy, that lasted long. You know, those family needs seem to not worry. He still made it. We don't have official word, but if guys like this are reporting it, there's some real smoke to that fire. So that would be a very interesting move. Of course, we all know Edzo's been looking for a front office job for a while.
Yep.
Now, what does that president role mean with the Penguins? Are you just there to kind of meet with the sponsorships and, be your, face of the franchise? Everybody knows he's a very, very likable guy, can talk your ear off, can schmooze with the best of them. How much does he want? Does he want a front office job just to be there and wave and get sponsorships and go to, city council meetings to get money to build this or that? Or does he want to be in control of the day-to-day hockey operations? And Kyle Dubas, as we've learned, part of the reason he's gone is because he wasn't allowed to have full control over the hockey operations. So it's a little weird that he would be willing to sign up for that sort of thing. And I don't know if Olczyk wants to have a president's job where he doesn't really get to touch the team. And then you have the workings with each other. Kyle Dubas is, an analytics guy. He's kind of on that mold of a Theo Epstein, where he bases his judgments more on the analytics and the numbers, where Edzo is a old school, eyeball test kind of guy. We've seen him, we've heard him as recently as the Eastern Conference Finals have his grudges against players and teams for whatever reason. So it's interesting. There's been no official word, but it's just a report that they reported on the Athletic Hockey Show today. So, we'll see what happens. It would be, very interesting to see. And one thing that was brought up on the show, you can go ahead and listen to them. They pretty much start the show with that talk. So I don't want to, spoil everything they did, but they just said, with Dubas, part of his problems in Toronto was, pending big contracts for their core guys and would he overpay and this and that. He doesn't have to worry about that with Pittsburgh because their big guys are there. They're locked up already because of the last regime. So he's just got to worry about building a team around those guys.
Well, I mean, that's a dumb thing to run away from. Like, that's the main part of your job, dude, is to be able to handle those big contracts. I'm with you. Like, I thought Eddie wants to be a decision maker, a hockey decision maker.
He doesn't want to be a schmoozer. He doesn't want to be a go to dinners and kiss people's ass type of guy.
And I'm not saying I think he's fully capable of both jobs. For the record, I think he could do the president thing. But the Dubas Olczyk connection is very weird to me. Like, that just doesn't seem congruent for many reasons because, like you said, if Dubas wants a job, he wants full control. Eddie wants full control. And from what I can tell, their hockey philosophies are pretty different. And maybe that's, you bring in your rivals to help you run a team and you get every sort of possible way to look at a player, fine. But that seems not ideal for either guy because, I don't know, it feels like I could see it being very much like this, where I'm punching my fist, by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube.
Butting heads, yeah.
Clash of I want my way, he wants his way, and also kind of a vying for if one of us gets fired, the other one probably takes the other's job too. So you've got two really high-profile names at the top of the organization who don't have the same hockey philosophy. And it's not to say Eddie O doesn't value analytics at all. I don't want it to sound like that, but like
he's old school.
I think if you're Pittsburgh, you just do one or the other. And either one, I think either one can work, but to put those two together, I don't know. That to me is that's a tough way. That's a tough look for me. I don't know how that's going to work.
I think you're asking for a power struggle at that point, especially knowing what came out of Toronto between Shanahan and Dubas. Like, I can't imagine Eddie Olczyk is just signing up to, take a team president position, but not have any say over, hockey decisions, roster decisions, personnel decisions, anything like that. That would be surprising for him to take that kind of role without those kinds of, responsibilities or anything like that. So, hey, you compare an old school guy with a new school guy and it can work out. But I think that the chances of that happening in the realm of hockey are a little bit less likely.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I don't see that working out, but as somebody who has not liked the Pittsburgh Penguins since 1992, whatever causes them stress and chaos, sign me up.
Well, and it's funny with Dubas too, because it's like he was on the cusp of having to make some tough decisions about Toronto's big players. And now if he takes this job, if the offer's on the table and he takes it to go to Pittsburgh, he's going to have to make tough decisions about their big players too, even though they're not the rising young talented core four as they call them in Toronto. It's the old guys. It's the guys that won the cups. It's Letang, it's Malkin, it's Crosby. Not Crosby, but Malkin and Letang. Like you're gonna have to make some decisions on those guys. And from what it sounded like in Pittsburgh just a few years ago, the decision was to not bring back Evgeny Malkin, and then that got nixed, and they said, no, bring him back. Bring back Chris Letang. Like, so I don't know. It seems like there's a mess to clean up in Pittsburgh, and Eddie Olczyk and Kyle Dubas coming in, with mops and buckets is, I don't know, that's quite the visual.
Maybe they should just make Sidney Crosby the first ever GM/player in league history.
Make him player, coach, GM.
There you go. Do it all, Sidney. We're paying you enough money. Do something else.
Is that what Reggie Dunlop did in Slapshot?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Put the map of Florida on there. L. Pete in the chat says, I feel like having different ideas both pushing the same direction is the best way to do things. That's the key. Are they pushing the same direction?
Right.
And this
a lot of ego involved with those two guys.
Yes. Remember when we talked about, Doug Wilson a couple weeks ago possibly being brought in as an advisor? Yeah, everyone's goal is to get the Penguins to win, right? But you're also going to have that power struggle. And when the disagreements happen, two really strong personalities with Eddie O and Kyle Dubas. I imagine the scene in Return of the Jedi where they're on the speeders and Luke and the Stormtrooper are kind of like banging into each other. They're driving side by side, but they keep knocking into each other. Like, that's eventually someone's going to hit a tree, like it's inevitable. And I just think those names specifically, I'm not saying the old school guy at the top and the numbers GM can't work together. I just think when you have two such high profile names in hockey doing it, that's tough. That's going to be tough. That's going to be, because I know, I love Eddie O. He's always been nothing but awesome to me, but he's set in his ways. He is stubborn. He is opinionated. He knows what he wants. And I just feel like for him, he could probably wait and get the full opportunity he wants to be like what he who shall not be named was before he resigned, the complete hockey czar, the director of whatever it is, president of hockey or VP of hockey operations, whatever, and you do everything hockey wise. And I think that is there for Eddie if he waits long enough. Him and Dubas to me feels like a nightmare waiting to happen.
I mean, they could work as they build a team, but as soon as there's some success, both of those guys are going to want to credit for being the guy who did it. I mean, we started to see that here, different roles, but same situation between he who should not be named and Joel Quenneville. Those guys butted heads all the time because they had different philosophies on how things could be done. And it was more like, you just give me the players and I'm going to do it my way, but no, I want you to do this. We saw that there, and that ultimately led to Joel Quenneville. Like, he who shall not be named couldn't wait to fire Joel Quenneville, and he jumped at the first opportunity he got, and then screwed this team for years with his dumbass hiring. But that's all in the past. But so yeah, it's a strange pairing. But hey, maybe it works, maybe it's not, and maybe none of this even happens. Like, I still haven't seen anything outside of the Athletics Hockey Podcast. I haven't seen anything about it, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, all those names have been circling all the, the GM openings, front office openings, things like that this summer. So it's not a surprise that potentially both of them land in the same spot because, there's only so many openings left as the summer goes on. So, hey, I mean, it's more power to the Penguins or less power, however they want to go.
It's funny. You mentioned the struggle between Q and Bowman, and you think about the moves made in that 2018 free agency where Q is like, I need like a physical defenseman. They signed Brandon Manning, and they just brought in like all these. Was that the same year that Kunitz and Cam Ward came in?
Yes, I remember the big announcement of the big free agent signings that they had were Cam Ward, Chris Kunitz, and Brandon Manning.
Yeah, because Quenneville wanted a physical defenseman, a scoring veteran winger, and a solid goalie. So he got 400-year-old Cam Ward, 500-year-old Chris Kunitz, and bum-ass Brandon Manning. There you go, buddy. I gave you what you asked for.
Yeah. And that was that's just a damn shame.
Yeah. Well, and then another little quick tidbit of news. I know we're up against the clock. Former Blackhawks legend Andrew Burnett is getting the Nashville Predators job back in the Central Division. That's Barry Trotz's first move as GM of the Predators. I like Barry Trotz. I've always liked Barry Trotz. I think he's a great coach, but it's just like with the Predators, they're not going to change anything. They're going to stay as the Barry Trotz ran, slogging, defensive-minded, boring-ass hockey team that is like a 7th or 8th seed and their best seasons. But whatever. But good for Andrew Burnett. He led this Florida Panthers team to the President's Trophy last year and got fired because he couldn't beat the dynasty Tampa Bay Lightning, who was in the midst of 3 straight Eastern Conference championships. But so it didn't hurt the Panthers in the long run because they're in the Stanley Cup Final. But that's a very good hire for the Predators, and will affect the Blackhawks here for the next few years.
Yep. That'll be interesting.
Lots of news. We'll be back tomorrow with 2. You got something, Mario? Yep.
Yeah, just want to mention Seattle Thunderbirds in the Memorial Cup. They won their opening game of the round robin against the Peterborough Petes. But then they lost last night to the Quebec Remparts, and that was a matchup of 2 teams that over their last about 56 games, each team had about 41 or 42 wins each. So those are 2 very hot favored teams in the Memorial Cup going against each other. Quebec won. So Quebec has already punched their ticket to the final. Now it comes down to either Seattle or Kamloops, depending on what happens between Quebec and Peterborough. I believe the expectation is Quebec will beat Peterborough. And that means that Seattle and Kamloops, if that happens, Seattle and Kamloops will play each other twice, tomorrow night and then again in the semifinal to decide who gets to go and face Quebec in the final. So that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Nolan Allen, Kevin Korchinski, and Colton Dock are the Blackhawks' interests among some other draft-eligible players on Seattle. And it's been fun to watch those guys. Nolan Allen scored in both games, which if you had said, hey, who's going to have 2 goals in 2 games for the Thunderbirds out of those 3, I think Nolan Allen would have been everyone's 3rd pick. So if you want to watch, it's on NHL Network in the US. And hey, guess who carries NHL Network and the Memorial Cup? Fubo TV. So right. go to FuboTV.com/CHGO. You can help out there. I know also someone was circulating, I guess the Seattle Thunderbirds gave out complimentary watch CHL.com streaming codes. So I can't confirm that or not, but if you find it on the internet, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But they'll play again tomorrow night against Kamloops. And then if they win, I believe they'll play, I don't want to get you confused, but tomorrow night they'll play Kamloops. If they win, they'll go to the semifinal at the very least with a chance to reach the final there.
All right, good day to give that Fubo trial run. If you haven't done it yet, FuboTV.com/CHGO. Jump on that 7-day free trial and you'll fall in love with it and become a full-time subscriber very shortly after that. Fellas, production meeting on the air. We got a lot of people with a lot of random questions in the chat. Should we do a mailbag tomorrow?
Why not?
Sure.
All right.
Mailbag Monday on a Wednesday.
There you go. Get those questions in at CHGO_Blackhawks, Blackhawks at allchgo.com, or hit us up on our members only Discord. We'll get all your questions answered on tomorrow's show. Restart at 2. One final reminder as well. Thursday, we'll preview the Stanley Cup Final with TNT's Liam McHugh and see if he can get us Gretzky. Just 5 minutes with Wayne. He owes us one, damn it.
Yeah. Well, just make sure when you double check with Liam, make sure that he sends you his flight itinerary so that way we'll know exactly where he'll be and where we'll fit in.
Exactly. All right. Want to remind everybody one last time, even though I did it twice already, that we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use that promo code CHGO when you sign up. For Greg and Mario, I'm Jay. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.